These are poems from The Best of Ogden Nash, so by Ogden Nash, light verse poet. This is from the section What's in a Word. It's going to be several of these poems. Very like a whale. One thing that literature would be greatly the better for would be a more restricted employment by authors of simile and metaphor. Authors of all races, be they Greeks, Romans, Teutons, or Celts, can't seem just to say that anything is the thing it is, but have to go out of their way to say that it is like something else. What does it mean when we are told that the Assyrian came down like a wolf on the fold? In the first place, George Gordon Byron had had enough experience to know that it probably wasn't just one Assyrian, it was a lot of Assyrians. However, as too many arguments are apt to induce apoplexy and thus hinder longevity, we'll let it pass as one Assyrian for the sake of brevity. Now then, this particular Assyrian, the one whose cohorts were gleaming in purple and gold, just what does the poet mean when he says he came down like a wolf on the fold? In heaven and earth, more than is dreamed of in our philosophy, there are a great many things, but I don't imagine that among them there is a wolf with purple and gold cohorts or purple and gold anythings. No, no, Lord Byron. Before I'll believe that this Assyrian was actually like a wolf, I must have some kind of proof. Did he run on all fours? And did he have a hairy tail and a big red mouth and big white teeth? And did he say wolf, wolf? Frankly, I think it very unlikely, and all you were entitled to say, at the very most, was that the Assyrian cohorts came down like a lot of Assyrian cohorts about to destroy the Hebrew host. But that wasn't fancy enough for Lord Byron, oh dear me no. He had to invent a lot of figures of speech and then interpolate them. With the result that whenever you mention Old Testament soldiers to people, they say, oh yes, they're the ones that a lot of wolves dressed up in gold and purple ate them. That's the kind of thing that's been done all the time by poets, from Homer to Tennyson. They're always comparing ladies to lilies and veal to venison. And they always say things like that the snow is a white blanket after a winter storm. Oh, it is. Is it all right then? You sleep under a 6-inch blanket of snow, and I'll sleep under a half-inch blanket of unpoetical blanket material, and we'll see which one keeps warm. And after that, maybe you'll begin to comprehend dimly what I mean by too much metaphor and simile. An enthusiast is a devotee is a rooster. Or, Mr. Hemingway, meet Mr. Stengel. Into the Grand Canyon of the Colorado, drop, my boon companion, the word aficionado. Brand me as a provincial, hoot me for a jingo, hint that I'm an Oedipus to love my mother's lingo. On my reputation cast a nasty shadow. Adamant you'll find me a nint aficionado. Never may I languish prey to xenophobia, Sidney Smith admire I, and Luca della Robbia. And should fate transport me into regions foreign, I could wear a chlemis, I could wear a sporin, yet gazing at the Parthenon, strolling through the Prado, art lovers I might be, but no aficionado. Monosyllabic master, whither are we heading, since you thrust upon us this verbal feather bedding? You who freed the language of fetters euphemistic, you who taught us terseness, muscular and fistic, you whose praise is soldierly, Spartan, and Mohican, why employ 10 letters to do the job that 3 can? This reproachful tribute to a first-class writing man comes from no aficionado, just a loyal fan. What is bibbidi-bobbidi-boo in Sanskrit? When people tell me French is difficult, I show my dimple. French is simple. My pen is cosmopolitan, not parochial. I am at home in French, either classical or colloquial. I can pronounce filet mignon even while chewing it, and I can and will fluently translate popular songs such as Everybody's Doing It. Tout le monde est faisons-le, faisons-le, faisons-le. Tout le monde est faisons-le, faisons quoi? Din don pas. Voici rectum couple de bonheur. Voilà jeter leur et poisonnaire. C'est un bibo, un ibo, ou? I think that even Mr. Berlin would agree that this has life and movement, and that the few changes are an improvement. That ragtime couple, for example, instead of just being vaguely over there, they are now obviously in some expensive club. They are debonair. And the substitution of say onibu, it's an owl, it's an owl, it's an owl, for c'est un ours, c'est un ours, it's a bear, it's a bear, it's a bear. That is a veritable coup de tonnerre. That is a truly superior brand of merchandise, because in French, ours might be confused with oursin, sea urchin, and what would a debonair, owl-loving ragtime couple want with a fishy batch of sea urchin dice? Sea urchin dice. I feel that I have built myself a monument of more than bricks and mortar, and having gained the gratitude of Mr. Berlin, I am now leafing through the works of Mr. Oscar Hammerstein and Mr. Cole Porter. Everybody's mind to me a kingdom is, or a great big wonderful world is. Some melodies are popular as well as classical, which I suppose makes them popsicles, and some poems are part William Cullen Bryant and part Nick Kinney, which makes them thanatopsicles, and to some people Wisconsin is what Guinevere was to Lancelot, and if they are away from it, then they are Wisconsalot. Some naturalists know why the Sphinx is Sphinx-like and the Griffin is Griffiny, and some couples are so wealthy that even their tiffs are from Tiffany. Some Angelino socialites fine each other $1 if they say La Holla, and they give each other a Picasso or a Goya for pronouncing it La Jolla. Why should I not pick up a masterpiece or a coin? I will no longer say Des Moines. I shall sail into the CB&Q ticket office like a swan and ask for a lower to Des Moines. This I shall do because I am a conscientious man. When I throw rocks at seabirds, I leave no turn unstoned. I am a meticulous man, and when I portray baboons, I leave no stern untoned. I am a man who values the fitness of things about notoriety and pelf, which is why I am happy I heard the Cockney postmaster say to a doctor who was returning a leprechaun to Glacamora in an open envelope, "Physician, seal it thy health." This is my native tongue. Often I leave my television set to listen to my wireless. So often I hear the same song sung by the same singer many times a day, because at repeating it, we'll start this one over. This is my native tongue. Often I leave my television set to listen to my wireless. So often I hear the same song sung by the same singer many times a day, because at repeating itself the wireless is tireless. There is one such song from which at sleepy time I can hardly bear to part, a song in which this particular singer, who apparently has offended a nameless character in an undescribed way, states that he apologizes from the bottom of his heart. I am familiar with various accents. I know that in Indiana you stress the R in Carmen, and that in Georgia if a ladybug's house is on fire, she sends for the foreman. And I have parked my car in Cambridge, and elsewhere spoken with those who raise hogs and worship strange gods, but here I am, late in life's autumn. Suddenly confronted with somebody's apologies and bottom, I tell you what, things were different when I was a toddling tot. I may have been an indifferent shaller, lolling around in my blue serge suit and doodling on my Eton collar. In fact, I didn't even pick up much knowledge in a year at college. I guess that of normal intelligence I only had about 2/3. But by gum I was taught, or by gum was I taught to pronounce my words. And now they've got me wondering, was it the dawn or the dawn that from China across the bay came up thundering? As a tot, was I toddling or was I toddling? When I doodled, was I dawdling or was I dawdling? I have forgotten all I ever knew of English. I find my position as an articulate mammal bewildering and awesome. Would God I were a tender apple blossom. The Club Car. Come, child, while rambling through the nation, let's practice our pronunciation. The liquid confluence here we see of RIB and ALD. When first potato chips he nibbled, that gentleman was merely ribald. But now that he is a 4 rye highballed, we may properly pronounce him ribald. Let's not play lotto. Let's just talk. If anybody says conversation in our day is as good as it was in Dr. Johnson's, why, that's a lot of nonsense. The art of conversation has been lost, or at least mislaid, and no modern phrase coiner can think of a fresher word for spade than spade. Take the causerie of the most effervescent coterie. It sounds like something sworn to before a notary. Where are yesterday's epigrams, banter, and badinage? All you hear is who behaves scandalously at the club dance and how hard it is to get a new car into an old garage. The maxim, the apothegm, yeah, even the aphorism, die like echoes in the distance, overwhelmed by such provocative topics as clothes, beauticians, taxes, and the scarcity of competent domestic assistants. Come, sprinkle ashes and coffee substitutes upon my head. I weep for the art of conversation. It is dead. But wait a minute, the art of conversation is not dead. See it arise, vigorous, stimulating, and untroubled, just as you start to play spades, vulnerable, doubled, and redoubled. Goodbye now, or pardon my gauntlet. Bring down the moon for genteel Janet. She's too refined for this gross planet. She wears garments and you wear clothes. You buy stockings, she purchases hose. She says that is correct and you say yes. And she disrobes and you undress. Confronted by a mouse or moose, you turn green, she turns chartreuse. Her speech is new minted, freshly quarried. She has a forehead, you have a forehead. Nor snake nor slow worm draweth nigh her. You go to bed, she doth retire. To Janet, births are blessed events, and odors that you smell she scents. Replete she feels when her food is yummy, not in the stomach, but in the tummy. If urged some novel step to show, you say, like this, she says, like so. Her dear ones don't die, but pass away. Beneath her formal is lingerie. A refinement she's a font or fontess, and that is why she's now a countess. She was asking for the little girl's room, and a flunky thought she said the earl's room. Who will buy my lingual? Or, you pronounce pluie, Louis. I wander through a Paris shower, off to inspect a flat au lower. The water pours as from a pitcher, on walls inscribed de fonce de fischer. If I have a splash through such a pond, I don't respond, ooh or quand. With raindrops glistening on my garment, I reach my goal, I don't know comment. I ring, I do not wish to trespass, for trespassing is naughty, n'est-ce pas? The stairway irking my fallen arch, because one learns la censure ne marche. I light the flat with cheerful mien. I murmur to the man, combien? He mentions his idea of payment. I say that it's exorbitant. Vraiment? Have I understood his statement? I do not speak the French parfaitement. He mentions a reduced emolument. I cry that it's a deal, absolument. And now I think a glass of wine would not be too unpleasant. Hein? Oafishness sells good, like an advertisement should. I guess it is farewell to grammatical compunction. I guess a preposition is the same as a conjunction. I guess an adjective is the same as an adverb, and to parse is a bad verb. Blow, blow, thou winter wind, thou art not that unkind, like man's ingratitude to his ancestors who left him the English language for an inheritance. This is a chromium world in which even the Copley Plazas and the Blackstones and the book Cadillacs are simplified into Sheratons. I guess our ancient speech has gone so flat that we have to spike it. Like the hart panteth for the water brooks, I pant for a revival of Shakespeare's Like You Like It. I can see the 10 draftees relax and purr when the sergeant barks, like you were. And don't try to tell me that our well has been defiled by immigration. Like goes Madison Avenue. Like goes the nation. We'll do a few more. Do you plan to speak Bantu? Or abbreviation is a thief of sanity. The merchant, as crafty a man as he, as Halton or Stagg or Zupke. He sells his wares by the broad turnpike, or as some would have it, TPKE. The merchant offers us merchandise, frozen or tinned or sudsy. And the way that he spells his merchandise, I have to pronounce it MDSE. Twixt the wholesale price and the retail price, the merchant doth daily hustle. His MDSE sells at the retail price, but he buys his MDSE WHSLE. Let us purchase some WHSLE MDSE, love, and a shop will we set up, where the turnpike runs to the township, love, where the TPKE runs to the TWP. And you shall be as precious, love, as Mermaidsk from Murmansk, and I will tend the customers, love, in a suit with 2 PR Punsk. Chacun à son Berlitz. French is easy. At speaking French, I am the champ of the Champs-Élysées, and since I can speak Parisian without a flaw, I will tell you why the crows, or les corbeaux, always win their battle against the scarecrows. It's on account of their esprit de corps. Shall we dance? Being the Confessions of a Ballet-Ramas, 2. I learned my French by working hard at listening to Hildegard. That's why a word like entrechamp is something je ne comprends pas. Is it a stage direction that calls for the advent of a cat? Assume a comma in the center. Does entrechat bid cat to enter? Let's start again. Does entre mean among or possibly between? I find I cannot swallow that. How do you get between one cat? Let's forget the tiresome entrechat and watch a danse de ventre. Laments for a Dying Language, 3. In the nice-minded department of prunes and prisms, it's I for you and euphemisms. Hence the phrase I would eagerly jettison, senior citizen. Shall we retranslate? Joel 2:28. To the sociologist squeamish, the words, your old men shall dream dreams, are less than beamish. So your senior citizens shall dream dreams. It shall henceforth be, along with Hemingway's The Senior Citizen and The Sea. I, though no Joel, prophesy that someday, while the senior citizens are projecting the image of an age-adjusted social group, the old men will rise up and knock them for a loop. Laments for a Dying Language, 4. Those authors I can never love who write, it fits him like a glove. Though baseballs may be hit, not hitted, the past is fit, is always fitted. The sole exception, orthorherico, is Joshua fit to battle ob Jericho. A mint of phrases, or a team as strong as its bench. Consider how time's vasty corridors ring with the words of famous orators, Demosthenes and Billy Graham, Jeremiah and maybe Nahum, Patrick Henry and Cicero, Daniel Webster and Mirabeau, Burke and William Jennings Bryan, Pitt the Elder's gifted scion, the Gracchi, Danton and Disraeli, Cato fulminating daily, and other men with nameless metric who altered history by their rhetoric. Were their apothegms spontaneous, off-the-cuff, extemporaneous, or soaking in the tub or shaving? Did they think a thought worth saving, roll it on their tongues and smile, and store it in their futile future file? Not even Churchill, without notes, could stand and coin such golden quotes, had he not learned in early days to hoard each fleeting happy phrase, and draw on, as he faced the throng, a bank of jewels 5 words long. Eloquence bleeds and weeps and sweats. Also, eloquence never forgets. Untitled. The tongues of the people are fashioned on the wheel of an all-wise potter. Where the natives say water for water, the water tastes like water. The sad case of the expatriate socialite, or it's never in the phrase book. Once there was a Manhattan socialite named Stella Maris, and her French was formidable in Manhattan, but not in Paris. Manhattan head waiters responded to her French with suavity to spare. Not so in La Vie Lumiere. At her socially impeccable school, she had passed her college boards and had read Corneille and Moliere. But in Paris, even a request for a glass of water was answered by a humiliating stare. Should she offer a taxi driver a cigarette with the halting "Voulez-vous fumer?" he understands her at once, but should she then ask to be taken to the Boulevard Haussmann or even the Champs-Élysées, why, he's as stonily uncomprehending as a rock fan listening to Les Pêcheurs de Perles by Alexander César Leopold Bizet. She grows more and more like Burns' mouse, timid, cowering, and sleek it. Her schooling has taught her everything about French except how to speak it. What boots her now her term paper on Racine? When in need of a stimulant, she can't remember whether to ask for un fin or une fine. You'll be glad to know that she has now recognized the problem of gender and in a state of mild but permanent inebriety has learned to dwell with it. These days she orders Dauphine and the hell with it. There is a precedent for her actions set by Madame de Rambouillet, who, I have been told, always demanded a double Drambuie. One man's opiate. In the Affendamerung, or twilight of the apes, what is more fitting than the man should for reassurance turn to japes? In chaos sublunary, what remains but constant buffoonery? I know of a man named Daniel Deronda, and of buffoonery he is a veritable Golconda. Once he was sipping a fiend in a cafe in Montmartre, when a man sat down at his table who wanted to discuss Sartre. Daniel didn't wish to discuss Sartre, whose works filled him with ennui. He told himself, Dan, we can't put up with ennui, can we? So he said, frappe, frappe, and the man said, qui va là? And he said, Alençon, and the man said, Alençon qui? And Daniel said, Alençon de la patrie. The Sartre man, himself a lace maker, was so taken aback that instead of exclaiming, ma foi, my faith, il s'écria, mon foie, which every goose knows means my liver. And then he threw himself into the Seine, a river. I'm all for Daniel in his H penumbral. Let the timbrel resound in the tumbrel. Last one. What do you want? A meaningful dialogue or a satisfactory talk? Bad money drives out good. That's Gresham's law, which I have not until recently understood. No economist I. To economics, I have an incurable allergy, but now I understand Gresham's law through obvious analogy. Just as bad money drives the good money beyond our reach, so has the jargon of the hippie, the huckster, and the bureaucrat debased the sterling of our once lucid speech. What's worse is induced the amnesia by which I am faced. I can't recall the original phraseology which the jargon has replaced. Would that I had the memory of a computer or an elephant. What used I to say? Instead of uptight, clout, and thrust, and relevant, linguistics becomes an ever eerier area. Like I feel like I'm in Oz, just trying to tell it like it was.